I built a life for 31 years, and it took a nurse turning off a monitor's beep for me to find out what it was really worth. I heard my own wife call it mine, before I was even gone. That's the kind of thing you don't forget, even when the doctors tell you your memory might start slipping before your heart does. Welcome to Dad's Pure Revenge. If you're new here, I'm glad you found us. Drop a comment and let me know what city you're watching from tonight. And if you've got 2 seconds, hit that subscribe button before we get into this one. You're going to want to see how it ends. My name is Walter Briggs. I'm 61 years old. I've run Briggs Hardware on Route 9 outside Lansfield, Ohio, since I was 28. And if you'd asked me 2 months ago what my biggest flaw was, I'd have told you I trust people too fast. I never once made my wife sign anything. Never made her explain a purchase. When she said the money was going toward her sister's medical bills, I wrote the check and didn't ask for the paperwork. That was the mistake. Not loving her too much. Just never once asking her to show her work. Before I tell you what happened in that hospital room, I want you to know about the man who saved me, because none of this makes sense without him. His name is Raymond Dooley. Ray. He'd mowed my lawn and trimmed my hedges every other Thursday for 11 years, rain or shine. And he never once sent me a bill that was $1 higher than what we'd agreed on in 2015. When my knee gave out 2 winters ago, and I couldn't get down my own porch steps to get the mail, Ray started leaving it on the kitchen table without me ever asking him to. He has a key. I gave it to him after my hip surgery, and he never used it for anything except bringing in my mail, and once, carrying in groceries during an ice storm when my wife was at a spa in Columbus and couldn't be reached. Ray doesn't say much, but when he shakes your hand, he means it. That's who I called. Not my lawyer first. Ray first. Here's how we got there. Thursday, May 14th, 6:58 in the morning. I was restocking a shelf of paint thinner when my chest folded in on itself, like a fist closing. I remember the linoleum floor of my own store coming up at me sideways. I remember thinking, clearly, this is going to ruin the Memorial Day sale. Funny what your mind does. I woke up at St. Francis Hospital in Lansfield, 2 days later, with a tube down my throat, and a doctor named Priya Anand standing over me with a clipboard and a face that wasn't unkind, just careful. She told me I'd had a massive cardiac event, that there was a second blockage they were watching, and that without an emergency procedure scheduled for Monday morning, my odds through the weekend weren't good. She used the word critical. She didn't sugarcoat it. She said, plainly, that if I made it to Monday's surgery, we'd talk about the rest of my life. If I didn't make it to Monday, there wouldn't be a rest of my life to talk about. 3 days. That's what she gave me. 3 days to Monday. My wife, Denise, was in the room when Dr. Anand said it. So was my stepdaughter, Chelsea, 26, Denise's daughter from her first marriage, a girl I'd helped raise since she was 9 years old. I'd walked her down the aisle at her own wedding 2 years back because her father never showed up for it. I paid for half that wedding too, and never once brought it up afterward. Denise squeezed my hand when Dr. Anand said, 3 days. I remember that. Her hand was warm. I thought it meant something. I was heavily sedated that afternoon, in and out, and the nurses had turned the lights down low in the room. I don't think either of them realized how much I could actually hear. There's a strange thing that happens with sedation. You can't move, you can't open your eyes, but your ears keep working just fine. I heard the door not quite close all the way. I heard Denise's voice, low, right outside in the hallway, thinking I was gone under. Finally, she said, just that word, first, like she was setting something down she'd been carrying a long time. Then, 3 more days. Then it's all mine. I lay there and didn't move a single muscle. Chelsea's voice came next, quieter, but not quiet enough. I'm taking his car, the Silverado. I already told Kayla. Nobody laughed. Nobody caught themselves. That's the part that stayed with me longer than the words did. How ordinary they sounded. Like they were discussing who was picking up milk on the way home. The door didn't slam. Nobody raised their voice. That almost made it worse. I want to tell you I felt rage in that moment. Some kind of fire in my chest, to match the one the doctors said might kill me. I didn't. What I felt was quieter than that. And stranger, I felt the whole shape of my marriage rearrange itself in about 4 seconds. The way a photograph looks completely different once somebody tells you who's actually standing in the background. I thought about the paint thinner shelf. I thought about the check I wrote for Denise's sister's medical bills 8 months back. $11,000, no receipts. I thought about a lot of small things I'd waved off over the years. A warning from my own accountant, Gary Fentress, who'd mentioned once, almost in passing, that Denise had asked him twice about how the business was titled. I hadn't examined any of it at the time. I just folded it up and put it away, the way you do with a piece of mail you're not ready to open. Now I was lying in a hospital bed with a number attached to my life, and my wife's voice in the hallway sounded lighter than I'd heard it in years. I didn't sleep much that night. Around 2 a.m., a nurse named Coral checked my vitals and asked if I needed anything. I asked her, very quietly, if there was a phone I could use, once visiting hours ended and my family had gone home. She said there was a landline at the nurse's station I could use if I was steady enough to walk to it. I told her I'd manage. At 9:40 that night, after Denise and Chelsea had both left, Denise kissed my forehead on the way out, and I let her. I shuffled down the hallway in a hospital gown with an IV pole rattling next to me like a third leg, and I called Ray Dooley. He picked up on the second ring. "Walter? Ray, I need your help with something, and I need you not to ask me why until I've told you the whole thing." "Okay." That was it. That was the whole answer. "Okay." I told him everything. The diagnosis, the 3 days, what I'd heard through that door. I told him I needed to get to a notary and a lawyer before Monday morning, and that I couldn't ask Denise to drive me anywhere, obviously, and I didn't trust the hospital chaplain not to mention it to my family by accident. Ray didn't say a word about the money. He asked me one question. "What time do visiting hours start tomorrow?" 9. "I'll be there at 8. I said, "Ray, if this goes the way I want it to, you're not going to have to worry about money again. Not you, not your grandkids." He was quiet for a second. Then he said, "Walter, I'm coming because you asked me to. Don't complicate it." I hung up that phone in a hallway that smelled like rubbing alcohol and floor wax. And for the first time since Thursday morning, I felt like I was still standing on my own 2 feet. Friday, 8:04 a.m. Ray was in my room with a folder of business cards from an estate attorney his cousin had used, a man named Desmond Okafor, out of a small office on Grant Street. I called Desmond from my hospital bed. He said he could be there by 11 with the right documents, if I was clear-headed and a physician could confirm my competence, which Dr. Anand, after I explained carefully what I needed and why, agreed to do without asking me a single judgmental question. I think she'd seen enough hospital rooms to know exactly what kind of story was unfolding in mine. By 1 o'clock that afternoon, with Ray Dooley and Dr. Anand as witnesses and Desmond Okafor watching everything with the calm of a man who'd clearly seen worse, I signed a new will and a new power of attorney. Briggs Hardware, the house on Elmhurst Lane. The accounts Denise didn't know I still had in my late mother's maiden name. All of it, redirected. My stepson from a first marriage I don't talk about much. A young man named Curtis who I'd failed for years by letting Denise talk me out of calling him, got named guardian of my medical decisions, and a share of the business. Ray Dooley got the house, not because I owed him money, because he was the only person in my life who showed up without being asked what was in it for him. Denise and Chelsea got exactly what the old will already promised them before any of this. The cars, paid off, and nothing else. Not because I wanted to punish them into poverty, because I finally understood the difference between generosity and being taken for granted, and I wasn't interested in confusing the two ever again. Saturday came and went. 14 missed calls from Denise on my cell phone by Saturday night, which Ray had brought me a charger for. 22 by Sunday.